Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the United Stand. Sorry, we're a little bit late. We're a little bit behind. We're just all gathering our thoughts because last night there was no fan forum show. And tonight, all these guys around me here are just raring to go to get their teeth into what went down yesterday. We're going to touch on what we thought of the season, where it's gone wrong, everything, what's happening with Ronaldo. Is this now a case of, do we have to finish in the Europa League to actually keep hold of Ronaldo? There's all sorts going on. Obviously, guys, get your comments in. I'm guessing you've been waiting for this one. You want to have your say? Get in there and join in with the chat because it's going to be interesting after yesterday's show. Obviously, you've heard my thoughts. Jordan, welcome to the show, mate. Welcome to the Sunday night show. How are you doing, pal? Obviously, save the major dissection for in a second. But yourself, good day so far?
Yeah, not a bad day. Bit of sunshine in Cardiff, which is rare. Little barbecue and stuff. So yeah, all good. All good.
Good. Kev, I'm guessing the cans have been cracked. A bit of sun come out. You like that in the garden, mate? Was it today? Just recovering?
Out in the garden, couple of glasses of red wine, just to deal with what's happening at Manchester United at the minute. So yes, you absolutely 100% spot on, my friend.
Yes, Beth. I don't even have to say what sort of mood you was in yesterday, but it is a weekend killer, isn't it?
Yeah, honestly, I was just happy the sun did come out today. I was driving around and I was like, oh, sun's out. It automatically boosts your mood. But yeah, it was needed after yesterday. It was such a bad game, and the sun came out and kind of brightened the weekend a little bit. But it's frustrating. Yeah, it's frustrating.
That's it, guys. Yeah, well, Jordan, I'm going to start with you, mate. Yesterday, in our predictions beforehand, we were all relatively confident after that Brentford performance. But I think yesterday sort of was just like a whole sort of topping. It was like icing on the cake of this season, really, mate. Where did that rank for you? What were your thoughts yesterday, most of all, mate? And I'm not going to ask you where it went wrong. We already know that. So bring in the season, bring in anything you want, mate, because I was at an all-time low yesterday. How was you feeling, buddy?
Do you know what? I was actually glad there was no fan forum, to be honest, for once. Because I've needed sort of 24 hours to try and put everything into perspective, where we're at, where this team's at, this great club that I support and teach my son to support. And we really, really have hit rock bottom. And I know we keep saying it, but every time I feel like we've hit the bottom, there just seems to be new depths. And when we all did our predictions, everyone was riding high after the Brentford game. Nobody thought we were going to lose. I think the one thing we underestimated, that any team with a half-decent midfield completely dominates us. And combine that with decisions that Rangnick made at half-time to take Matic off, that only bit of calmness we had in the midfield, we got completely overrun. You guys know that I've sung Basuma's praises, and I've always given Tommy a hard time because I just don't think in our engine room he's strong enough. You know, we talk about needing to sign 5 or 6 players. It isn't. I think we put a graphic out as a channel about the 2 players, De Gea and Ronaldo, and that pretty much is it. The fullbacks absolute disgrace. The centre backs, we just can't seem to find the right balance. People keep making mistakes. The midfield is absolutely non-existent. These players to wear the badge, not only are they damaging their reputations on their current contracts, they're all at risk of damaging their careers. They will move on from this club and they will be remembered for being the worst Manchester United side ever. That's something that they've got to live with. They've got to look at that. Whatever they do, wherever they go on afterwards, unless certain players go on and win Champions Leagues and leagues, and I highly doubt that for the majority of them, they will be remembered as the worst Manchester United team ever. They got to sleep with that and live with that. And us as fans are continually let down game after game by the performances that these players are putting out there. And it isn't acceptable. And, you know, I'm just so glad we're literally at the tail end of the season, that we've only got to endure 1 or 2 more games. And then we can just get rid of the season and forget it ever happened. I really hope. Somebody said to me yesterday, they stopped me in the club, pointed, laughed at me for the result, standard. But they said to me, they said, honestly, in 4 or 5 years, you'll look back at this season and you'll laugh about it. Well, I tell you, I don't feel like that now. I don't feel like in 10 years' time I can look back and laugh at this season, because it really has been that bad. It completely dampens your whole weekend. It overshadows everything. Whatever your plans are or whatever, you're constantly reminded of how bad our team is. And I really do believe that a lot of those players go home and forget about it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't mean anything to them anymore.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I mean, Kev, try and remember exactly how you felt. I don't think it's going to be too difficult, but how did you feel yesterday, coming around about 7:30, mate? Try and enhance that rage, because I know you would have been. I know you would have been boiling at what you were seeing there. United players, or so-called United players. I mean, what you won't see on TV was like there was actually fans trying to get onto the pitch through the barrier to actually go and confront United players yesterday. That's how bad it was in the stadium, mate. What was it like in your household, mate? I mean, Jordan just said there, Kev, that I'm glad it's towards the back end of the season. I'm telling you now, I've witnessed this from pretty much the quarter mark of the season. After that little bit of a false dawn of a start, it's been the same all the way through. It's never changed, mate, the inconsistency. But now, in every single department, Kev, this team is at rock bottom. I mean, I looked at the form chart. We're down there with Watford, 19th in the league, Kev. This is how shit we are. I opened my fan blog yesterday, mate, and I said, we've just opened up a whole new category of shitness right now at this club. It's just beyond absolute dead. How was you feeling yesterday? Just let me know exactly what was going through your head after that game, Kev.
Well, like Jordan says, then, I mean, there wasn't a fan forum after the game yesterday. And after a game like that, I know we recall it the therapy forum, which is somewhere we sort of all join together, offload, and you feel better after it. But I'll say one thing. I agree totally with Jordan that you need that 24 hours to think about it, because I'm pretty sure if we'd have done a fan forum after the game yesterday, what I probably would have said and how I would have worded it and come out, especially in heat of the moment, I probably would never have been asked to come back on the United stand. It would have been the end of Kev. So that's the way I look at it. I think, if anything, I'm quite glad that we didn't have that yesterday. Now, from my perspective, I'm embarrassed. And, you know, I think when you look at the City result, we've been dicked by Man City, embarrassed, and Liverpool back to back. For me, yesterday was worse than them games, because we had a little light at the end of the tunnel against Brentford. And, you know, as supporters, everyone's, you know, I wouldn't say the feel-good factor's back, but people are going, well, should be playing Matic, should be playing this, that. And you look at the Brentford game, it was just a false dawn. You know, yesterday, that is Brighton. For me, going into it on the back of a 3-0 win against Brentford, you look and you've got a little bit of confidence. You think, we played all right against Brentford. For me, it was more of a shock, because against the likes of Liverpool and Man City, it was a case of how many are they going to score and can we keep the score down? So you kind of expected to get beat. And that's the standards at Manchester United at the minute. But yesterday, as a performance yesterday, this team will continue to let you down. They are absolute chances. They're wearing a United shirt with a badge and all that on the front of it, but absolute chances. You know, they're the kind of actors. All that they're here for is the social media shit and all that. That's all that comes with Manchester United, these players at the minute. Absolutely fed up to the back teeth of it. I really am. I don't know where to go with it. I said yesterday before the game, play the kids. I got dogs abuse on social media. Why break up a winning team? I could see what was going to happen. So what? It was Brentford, you know, and United fans getting carried away. Oh, we won 3-0 against Brentford. You don't break up a winning team. All right, I understand that. But there's a big cup final coming up on Wednesday. There'll be 11 players on that pitch who will give absolutely everything to play for Manchester United. Yet yesterday was subjected to that. And I look at it, I think, that is poor. That is really, really poor. They cannot do it for themselves. They can't do it for Manchester United. And they can't do it, and I'll include you in this, Adam, the travelling fans that went there yesterday. United are 4-0 down. 4-0 down. Worst season in Premier League history at Manchester United. Yet the travelling fans still singing at 4-0, out singing the Brighton fans. And listen, we've had great times at Manchester United. I know we can look back on the history and everything, but I look at it's a pivotal moment that yesterday. We know that change needs to happen. We've got the backing of the fans yesterday. I thought were absolutely superb. It kind of brings a tear to your eye when you see that the absolute passion. You know, you're subjected to traveling up and down the country every week and being subjected to performances like that, and you are getting absolutely nothing back. And how many times have I said before, disconnected from this group of players, barring what De Gea and Ronaldo. I don't care about any of them. I really don't. And it's a massive, massive season in the transfer window this season, mate. Sorry, I've just spoke for about 2 minutes.
It's all right, mate.
To get
That's
it off
what
my
this is
chest.
about. It is.
Yeah,
it is. I can feel the sort of like, it's just coming off your Kev. You're getting better. I can see it. We'll get into transfers anyway before the end of this show. But cheers to everyone who sent me endless pictures of me on TV. I thought, it was front row, and it wasn't pleasant viewing from where I was either. It really wasn't. But Beth, when you look at it, when you sum up this season, the stats and the records that we're breaking, they are just on a different level of crap, and the records you don't want to be breaking. And never thought a Manchester United team with that. And I'll come back to it because everyone's saying, it is the worst team. But we finished the game yesterday with 1,000 goals in our front two. Over 1,000 career goals in our front two. And we're going to finish this season, if we lose to Crystal Palace, with negative goal difference. The worst defensive performance in Premier League history, worst points tally, Premier League history. I'm looking at it, like I just said then, bottom of the form chart with Watford, who are already down. Yesterday was bad, Beth, but it's sort of like I said then, it showed exactly what this club is. The anticipation of maybe a bit of something from the Brentford game slapped right back down to earth with a bang yesterday, wasn't it?
Well, that's the thing. 100% Brighton played better than Brentford, but there's still no excuse. There's still no excuse at all. I mean, what annoyed me the most is there was an obvious difference in work rate between the Brentford game and the Brighton game, in my opinion, which to me seemed like the players potentially in the Brentford game, they knew we were doing the Guard of Honour or whatever they were doing. We knew it was the last home game of the season. They wanted to win. They wanted to end it on a good note because they didn't want to get pelters, and they didn't want it to be advertised as them getting pelters by the fans like they have done at some points this season at home. You got that. Crowd cheered. The crowd stayed till the end of the game for the Brentford game. Everyone was happy. We went to Brighton, where it's just the away fans, which for me is even worse because Brighton, traveling to Brighton, it's the opposite end of the country, and you go there and you put in a performance like that, thinking you can get away with it because it's not at home. And we're not doing the lap of honour this time, or the Guard of Honour, and they do that, and I felt sick. It's like you watch that and you think, how are Brighton out-strengthening you physically, running more miles than you, look way fitter than you, more aggressive, every sense of the word. Brighton were better than us, every sense of the word yesterday, and it was so sad to see that. Even when we got the ball, which, by the way, we couldn't get the ball off Brighton because no one could be bothered. No one could be bothered to go and chase the ball down, hunt it down, and put a tackle in. Even when we got the ball, we didn't look like we wanted to do anything with it. Like, there was no confidence going forward, attacking their goal. And then when they came on to us, which they did it very aggressively, and they showed how you should attack, we seemed to stand off them a lot, and there wasn't that aggression there. And when we went 1-0 down, it was bad defending. We shouldn't have gone 1-0 down. We should have closed Caicedo down, and we didn't do that. But you don't lose your head then. You go on, you try and win the game, you get the fans behind you, you make it tough for Brighton, you can go and get a goal with the players in that team. To me, it seemed like instantly give up, in my opinion, because from that moment, you just knew that Brighton were going to continue scoring goals, and you could see them coming. You could see them coming because I feel like the players just lost their heads, and they knew it was going to be another loss, and it's so awful to watch. Like, I wanted to turn it off when the second goal went in because I knew there was absolutely no coming back, and to do it in front of the fans, and then at the end, just not even go over and show your face. The majority of them, I think Ronaldo clapped, and then Dalot just kind of stood there. I think it's honestly so disgusting knowing how poor we've been all season. And 100% Ralph's substitutions weren't right, and Ralph's substitutions haven't been right for the majority of his tenure. And his coaching clearly isn't that great because the players, I mean, they look so lost. But at the same time, there's no excuse to go out there and not put a shift in, which these players haven't been doing. Like, we talk about not having good enough players, and I don't think we do have good enough players. We 100% need to make a lot of signings, but there's also just going out and putting a shift in, which these players don't seem to be doing. And it's all right coming out after and saying, yeah, we aren't, like Bruno came out, yeah, I wasn't fit to wear the shirt today. Yeah, but this is happening every week. So what are you doing to change it? Tell us what you're doing to try and change it. The fans don't have an explanation. And it's so frustrating, because I wonder how they'd feel if they turned up to Brighton and there was no fans there coming to watch them. Yet they expect fans to turn up and watch them put in a performance like that. I was really frustrated, and it summed up a lot of the season. The way you can flip from Brentford to Brighton in that way, I think it summed up a lot of the attitudes and a lot of the mentality, a lot of what's gone wrong this season. And it's frustrating. It really is.
They shouldn't be paid. They should not be paid for yesterday. I know the club would never do that. And another thing, all the fans, again, yourself, Adam, fair play to you, mate. Anybody that travelled to that game yesterday was subjected to that should be reimbursed for costs for everything. I know it sounds like an overreaction, but it is. I would say it can't get any worse. You know, we're rock bottom, and it keeps getting worse. And it's like, how low can we actually sink? You know, it really, it's terrible. But like I said, them players, and I've always said it, if they were on some kind of contract where it was performance related, you'd see a change in their you know, the way that they play football. Because if they were on a basic rate of 10 grand, they get whatever, 100 grand if they win a game, if they score a goal, assist, do whatever, and it was all made up of bonuses, you'd see a total difference in them players. And yesterday, you know, it's terrible, man.
I mean, what's frightening?
Touched on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, what's frightening about that is we had something to play for. We're playing to try and get in the Europa League. Brighton's got nothing to play for. They're not at relegation risk. They're not fighting for Europe. They're just floating mid-table. They're safe. And they still outfought us, outbattled us in every single position. And something in the hospitality industry that I work in, if somebody hands their notice in, they normally get told, look, don't bother working your notice period, just leave now. Because the effort isn't going to be there. There's a risk of us, losing money and different things because it's so high risk. So they just let them go now. And we've got 5 or 6 players that we know they're leaving at the end of the season. So why are they going to give their all? And I want to apologise to Kev, because on the last show, when Kev said about just play the kids, I said, Kev, I don't agree with you. Don't break up a winning team. You know, I underestimated how rotten that squad is. I underestimated it. And I really felt like they were going to turn up. And I apologise, Kev. You're right. We should have played
this team, and you should be used to it. This team will let you down. They'll give you a performance against Brentford where you win 3-0, and then you will all know, because when you were doing your score prediction for this game, everybody was confident because you've seen that 3-0 performance. This is what they are capable of. But at the same time, they are also capable of just letting you down big time. You've got no consistency and no trust in any of them.
Yeah. On that, I mean, I'd literally be scared of bringing any of the kids on. I mean, I picked up on it in my fan vlogs today, and I said, look, even the likes of Atlanga basically just gave up yesterday. And that's a youth player that we're talking about. I'm scared of the youth players coming through and actually being part of this bunch of cowards, is what I would call them. Absolute cowards. That's what they are. And there's plenty of senior players in there that have won everything there is. Not just talking about Ronaldo here either, because he's one that could probably stand up and be counted for this season, like Kev said there, like Jordan said, along with De Gea. But I just look at it and I go, it's no place for any youth player to be coming into it. It's just going to ruin a career. It really is going to ruin a career.
Look at Ronaldo, right? His demeanour yesterday, and how many times have we seen it this season, right? People are picking up when at 3-0, 4-0 down, or whatever. Ronaldo, he's laughing. He's like, I know why he's laughing, because he's laughing and going, by God,
he's working with
shit. Yeah.
How's it come to this?
That's what he's laughing at. He's not laughing in a term of like taking the piss out of Manchester United or anything. I was laughing at a stage. If I don't laugh, I'm going to cry and break down. So I'm watching that game, and it does get to the point where the second goes in, the third goes in, the fourth goes in, and you do actually sit there and just go, what can you do? It's like you've got no control over this situation. You got one of the best players ever to play football on this planet, and he's subjected and put into that team. And you're like, what do you want him to do? Look at the goals he scored this season. Take them goals out of our team. Where are we? With that down probably near with Everton and Leeds and that battling relegation. That's how bad it would have been.
Mighty close to it, mate. Mighty close to it. Beth is back. Thanks for that. Welcome back, Beth. I mean, it goes to show how bad this season is, because you've got moments happening now in a season that I would have never thought would have happened. I mean, you can pick up on so many different parts of this season and reactions, and you know what, mate? It's mainly fan base, which is where you start to really sinks in, because it's the fans that have always backed these players. And the reactions through different times of the season, I'll just go through a few now. Obviously, you've got the walkout against Liverpool at half-time. You've got what happened at Watford with the fans and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, a club legend, and the stick that he was getting. And you've got, obviously, Harry Maguire, club captain. Oh, by the way, didn't even get the armband, I don't think, off Bruno yesterday. That's our captain. When he came on the pitch, didn't take the armband, did he? He's been cheered off the pitch. He's been booed when his name's been read out. I mean, Christ. That's bad on its own. Then you got, like Beth touched on it there, Dallo. That was a weird moment yesterday. It was weird because I was right there in front row as everyone picked out in the pictures, and he just came and stood in front of the fans and beated his chest, like beated the badge, and didn't do anything else but that. Just looked at the fans straight in the eyes, and I'm like, what's going on here? This is weird. This is very weird. And it's like, you just don't know where you're going. I think it was Samuel Luckhurst who put a picture up on social media of United fans taking the 7:00 train out of Brighton. How you got there that quick? You've just given up on the team and walked out the stadium. That's how you get there that quick. I actually had the time up above, and he put it on there. It's like, you'd have to leave at this certain time to get this train. And the platform was rammed with United fans. A total give up of this team. And Beth, it's like when Ten Hag comes in the summer, you're worried, aren't you? Because we're looking at the players that we want to keep. You'd probably put Ronaldo over Varane in that category. But now it does look like we're heading to the Conference League. Ronaldo in the Europa League is something. Ronaldo in the Europa Conference League, it's embarrassing for Manchester United that we're going to put this player through that. And you would actually then give him perfect reason to say, you know what? It's not for me. It really isn't. And you'd understand it, wouldn't you?
You would 100%. It's like, if Ronaldo left, and I don't think anyone would have a problem with it. I don't want him to leave. I want him to stay, because he's one of the only good things that's come out of this season. But you wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't be annoyed. I mean, if I was a player, why would you want to stick around in a team that doesn't want to stick around for you and isn't putting the effort in? I mean, he wants to do it for the fans. You can see that through his performances across the season. His reaction yesterday, him laughing, is a fan point of view, in my opinion. It's like, I used to get so annoyed watching these games and watching these players, but now I actually just, like, after the third or fourth goal, you do just laugh at it, because they are laughable, and it's what you expect of this group of players. It is what you expect. So that, for me, was a fan reaction. You can't do everything on your own. Football's a team game. He can't play 11 positions on that team. So if the players aren't willing to put in the work, no one's listening to him, no one's taking in his experience, and he knows he's not going to be able to do much, and he could make his last years of his career worthwhile elsewhere, I wouldn't be annoyed at that. I would understand it. But what annoys me the most, again, this takes me back, is it makes me more annoyed at the set of players and the club that has allowed this to happen. The board has allowed it to happen by not being serious in January and thinking we'd be able to just cruise through the rest of the season and manage to finish okay in the league. And the players have done it by not putting their effort and all into every game and just accepting this mediocrity that they're doing every week, which is forcing Ronaldo out of the club, in my opinion. It's like, this team, if they would have actually put the effort in, could have finished top 4 this season. They could have done. They 100% could have done. And it's like, what's annoyed me is they've not done that, and that's going to cost the fans. It's going to cost the team for next season, because Ronaldo might leave. We're not going to be able to attract players. And it comes back down to the board as well, because they've not, the only good thing that they've done is put Ten Hag in charge, and Rangnick's exposed a lot of the problems. That's a good things that they've done. But apart from that, not willing to spend any money in January was a mistake. Not setting a clear out plan to the players to keep them motivated was a mistake. I mean, you should be motivated anyway playing for Manchester United, so that's like a get out. It's not a get out of jail free card for the players. And if Ronaldo leaves, I would understand it. Training and being surrounded by people who aren't winners and aren't on his level. I'm fuming about yesterday, and he will be as well. But the only thing that I think is keeping the fans going right now is knowing that change is going to happen under Ten Hag, and a lot of these players are going to have a massive reality check when he comes in.
That's it. I mean, we got that little bit of a buzz, didn't we, with Ten Hag coming in and people starting to lead the club. But then you just get that slap of reality when this team comes out. I mean, you talked yesterday about laughing at the time. I think someone fist pumped me yesterday in the crowd when we actually had a shot. I mean, that's where we're at.
That's where we're at.
Even the referee was laughing at us and feeling sorry for us yesterday because when Cavani's goal was disallowed, he pretty much booted the ball out the stadium. And the ref just went, you know what? I actually feel sorry for you. I'm not even going to give you a yellow card for that. That's how bad it's got. And little things like that, just like, oh, Jesus, man, that is low.
In the ground, watching the game there, how much better were their midfield than ours? Because on TV, it just looked like men against boys.
It did. And obviously, the criticism I had, I think it was Ricky's criticism on his fan blog as well, was bringing Matic off.
Crazy.
At half time. It was mental. And Ralph Rangnick has to take full blame for that. Everyone knows I've backed Ralph in a lot, but I won't back that. That was just suicide. Absolute suicide. Because then you're relying on McFred. And the discipline completely went. And their midfield had all the time in the world, mate. And I was front row, and obviously your view is obscured and you can't see, but you could literally see the space at the other end of the pitch when they had the ball, because there was no panic at all. All Potter did yesterday was go, right, forget that Brentford result. All you need to do with Manchester United is high press. And what happens to our midfield and what happened yesterday was Scott McTominay, the coward that he is, and I'm not holding back on that either. I've had enough. He just goes back and back and back to get time in the ball. And all Potter did was, well, no, I'm not giving you that. So they pressed us higher and won the ball back higher. And there was times we couldn't get out of our third. Yep. Our third, never mind our half. And we were like, we cannot get out of our half. And it's simply because the players, I don't really say they're not good enough. No, they're not good enough. But there are ways to work out situations within a game. And I just said, look, let's just go long sometimes and pick up the second balls. We've got Ronaldo there, play off him, but we continuously tried to play out from the back and just played into Brighton's hands. And this team can't pass the ball out from the back. I don't care what anyone says. I really don't. And
no,
you're dead right, Jordan. Yesterday, I said to a Brighton fan outside, and if you haven't watched it already, go watch the fan vlog of the Brighton fan outside, because I said to him, normally you'd say, how many of them Brighton players would you bring into United's team? I had to flip it and ask a Brighton fan, how many of United's players would you take in Manchester, in your Brighton team right now? And I can guess in the comments and your guys' faces, there weren't many, because Ronaldo had nothing to feed on yesterday. If you went off yesterday's game, I think Brighton would take every single one of their players over ours. And that's a clear sign of like how bad it was, because the stadium was quiet and their fans were as surprised as everyone else as how bad that game went. It was the only people that weren't surprised at how far that fell off a cliff, that game, were the United fans. Brighton fans could not believe what had happened, and every single one of them who came up to me and spoke to me said the same thing. He said, "What's this?" I went, "This is our season." That's exactly the only way I could describe it, was that they could not believe how poor this Manchester United team were, and that says everything you need to know. The opposition outlook, I always think, is a lot clearer than the red tinted one.
Yeah, it is.
We can all give our opinion, but from the outside, it's a lot clearer where the issues are. But this is it with United. We employ from within, and no one from the outside can get their hands on the problem, which is what we're hoping is going to happen this summer.
Well, the thing is, sorry, go on, Kev.
No, I was going to say that I actually watched that today, Adam, and it's interesting to hear the perspective of another fan's opinion on Manchester United, because we can all sit here every week and quite rightly say Manchester United is shit and go on and rage or do whatever we want to do and say, but to hear that guy yesterday, it's like this is a guy that will get to watch Manchester United maybe once or twice a season. You know, if he watches them at home, Brighton, if he travels to Old Trafford, he's not religiously going to watch Manchester United. So I think that the guy that's in that clip is genuinely shocked by the way that Manchester United have fallen. Like a lot of us are, but I think he was more like, God, you know, yous are bad. And he wasn't saying it in, you know, in a term trying to get a reaction out of you or anything, because you're asking all the right questions, probing and stuff. He was like saying everything that a Manchester United fan would more or less say. He was just like, you're awful. And you were like, what can you say? You can't argue with it, can you? You just agree.
They were like that. And I looked at it and you go, right, okay, this is a team with the third worst home record in the league. Not won a league game at home this calendar year. Not scored a goal at home, I think, in the last 5. United roll into town. There you go. We'll hand it you on a plate just so you can finish your season on a high. And that's why these fans could not believe what they were watching. They were surprised, Beth. They could not believe. You could see it in them and the way they were jumping around. They couldn't believe what happened.
Well, sorry. Do you want to?
I was just going to say, like, just putting it into perspective, though, like, we were awful yesterday in every position. We were fucking awful. It was ridiculous. But if we can just get the central midfield right, the whole balance of that team will completely change. It'll 100%. Take the pressure off of so many other areas. Like, and I know we've been banging on about it for 18 months, and I can't understand why the board or why Ollie couldn't see that is what the issue is. The pressure that central midfield is putting on the defence, and then the inability to get the ball forwards to help the attacking players is mental. The fullbacks are dog shite. I'm not sticking up for anyone. They're awful. But if we could just get our midfield right, we'd be in such a different position.
Well, one thing that I wanted to say, which is an example of where I think United's come wrong, and I'm not singling any player out because I think a lot of, I mean, like you said, the midfield was night and day. I actually tweeted about the fullbacks being night and day as well. Alex Telles, United bought him for 15.4 million.
Do not get me started on that. Man.
I need Holly to talk about Telles. She hates him.
United bought Telles for 15.4 million. How old is he? 29 now? 29. He's been horrible and not no hate on the guy. He's not been a good left back. He's been a very poor player. Cucurella yesterday, Brighton bought him start this season for 15.4 million, the same price that we bought Alex Telles for. He's 23 and he's got so much potential, and he's a great up-and-coming fullback, in my opinion, who's had a great season and has clearly shined under Graham Potter, who has been a great manager at Brighton. This is a difference. They've had a stable manager who they've allowed to have, obviously, control over the club. And I'm not saying Brighton's like this amazing club. I'm just saying they were a lot better than us yesterday. They've allowed Graham Potter to have full control over the team and the coaching, and they've allowed him to do his thing. They've brought in a young up-and-coming player who has got the ability to improve, and clearly he's so excited to play for the club. I mean, he cried yesterday when he scored his goal. He was so aggressive the whole game, and he had a Langer in his pocket the whole game. And we bought him for the same amount of money that we bought Telles for, who's 28, 29, and isn't good enough to play for Manchester United. It's the difference. The scouting isn't good enough, and the way that we just go about planning for the future isn't good enough either.
Do you know what, though? Like, I know you say that, Beth, and I agree. I think, Telles just hasn't come on from when he signed. But when we signed him on paper, I looked at him and thought, this is a great signing. Yeah. Look, tons of assists. And then you've got to ask yourself, how much is it on the coaches and the lack of developing players? Because not one player has developed under Ollie and those coaching. Yeah. Everyone's gone backwards.
I think one of the most poignant things that I've heard this week was Jose Mourinho coming out with his comment again saying, everybody laughed at me when I said finishing second with Manchester United was one of my biggest achievements in football. But he backed it up with another quote that he'd never mentioned before. He said, you don't know what is happening behind the scenes at Manchester United. And that's not a cryptic clue. That is more or less saying, when I was at Manchester United, I finished second with the likes of Phil Jones, Smalling, whatever in that team. I finished second in that league. You don't know what's happening behind the scenes. That is a dig at the powers above. And Rangnick is now calling it out. We are seeing the changes that are happening at Manchester United. And Rangnick has only just come out this week. What did he say? He wanted United to buy Luis Diaz, and he was knocked back because they didn't know whether the next manager would want this player. There was other players he mentioned that he wanted to bring in to strengthen Manchester United. And Manchester United, the hierarchy, have gone, no, you're just there sort of filling in until the next manager comes. We're not going to supply you with money or whatever. Whereas a player like that, or whoever Rangnick wanted, we know for a fact if we brought in at least one midfielder, at the very least, would have made a massive difference. It could have been the difference finishing top 4. And I'm not saying top 4, as I will always say, is an achievement. But by God, it would be better than what is going on at the minute at Manchester United. We're actually now discussing whether we're going to be in the, Europa Conference League. What's that?
I mean, one thing the club did say, mate, was that Jesse Lingard is a pivotal part of this team and will contribute to the running for top 4. Let's move on to the Conference League then, shall we, on that note, because top 4 is a pipe dream. It really is. Kev, honestly, I think Ronaldo has got a lot about him and he's got a lot of love for Manchester United, but the Conference League, mate, it's the bottom. It's the lowest of the low for this club right now. And it does look like that is where we're going to be heading. Can you see Ronaldo staying? In your opinion, what do you think? Is it enough for a man of this who's put everything in and got nothing back? He was laughing at his own teammates yesterday.
I don't think
no. He left the stadium on his own yesterday in a private car. No doubt, obviously, going back to see his family, which obviously with everything going on is the right thing to do. And I think he's the one player that deserves a break, to be honest, out of this whole team. But the rest of them, mate, I think that's about the 4th or 5th holiday this season that they've had. But Ronaldo, honestly, I can't see him wanting to stay on just alone from that.
Adam, it only seems like yesterday, right? We did that show when the day Ronaldo signed for Manchester United.
I remember it,
and the positivity on this show, we were like, Kev was like a little kid. Do you know what I mean? Christmas Day, I opened my present. I've got Ronaldo, he's back, and I'm like, this is absolutely mint. Sentimental value. I was like, I cannot believe it. Looked like he was going to Manchester City. United got it over the line. I was like, the boys, he's returned. And it only seems like yesterday. And the positivity factor at Manchester United, even looked to the start of the season, we're like, have we turned a corner? We've signed Varane. Even just announcing him before that game, was it against Leeds, when we brought him out on the pitch and that, we're like, touch of class. This is what United's about. We've signed Sancho. And you're like, this is going to be a real, can we follow it up? Can we get a midfielder? And it just never happened. But I still think we should have had enough to finish top 4. But on the question of Ronaldo, right, and this is where it comes down to it now, it's entirely in Ronaldo's hands. If he's big enough to see this through now and say, I will give you another season, I will be forever grateful to Cristiano Ronaldo, because I know deep down he's better. He's better than Manchester United. He's better than all them players there. And by staying at Manchester United, he is doing us a favour. He doesn't have to do this. He's getting no younger. He could move to Real Madrid next season. He could be competing for league titles, a La Liga, a Champions League, whatever. He'll be competing for trophies wherever he chooses to go. It's a massive decision. If he chooses to stay at Manchester United and see this through, I will be amazed. At the same time, I'll be thankful, and I'll say he'll always be a legend to Manchester United fans. But at the same time, yesterday, when you see him kind of smiling and shrugging the shoulders, that is because he is just saying, this is absolutely ridiculous that I am part of this. He's probably looking and going, I cannot believe how the standards of Manchester United have fallen since I left this. And he's like us. He's a fan, isn't he? He's given absolutely everything for Manchester United at the grand old age of 37? Yet you've got other clowns in that team running around like headless chickens, don't know what they're doing, coming out with the same shit every week. We go again, we try again. You don't get that. You don't get that from Ronaldo. Yeah. He's an honest man, and he will certainly say how it is. So
that's it.
God knows. I think we're at the point now, you're almost hoping he kind of stays. And that's where we're at. We're like, where would we be without Cristiano Ronaldo?
To top it off, I've not seen him for a while. Zane pops back into the chat as well. It's just,
Zane, times are hard, are they, Zane? £199.
£199.
It's got a limit. It's got a limit now.
Seriously, you've been capped, mate, haven't you? You've been capped. But Jordan, Ronaldo, quickly before we move on, is that Ten Hag? If you're Ten Hag, you getting on the phone right now and saying, Ronnie, help me.
Just on Kev's point at the beginning of the season, the optimism. I was at the first home game against Newcastle when he banged in 2 goals, and the stadium was absolutely bouncing, and we were all singing all the way home. And like, the reality was, we played awful. We weren't good against Newcastle, but he'd scored 2 goals, and it was kind of forgotten about. Quickly, we come crashing back down to earth. I think a week ago, it's crazy how things change. After the Brentford game, you're like, we're nailed on for Europa League. I think he's going to stay. He's going to honour his contract. 7 days later, we've just been absolutely spanked by Brighton. We're now going into the Conference League. And I just look at it and I feel like he doesn't owe us anything. Whatever decision he decides to make, he'll always be welcome back and he will always be a hero. I think the goals he scored in the Premier League at the age he's at shows that he can proves that he can still score goals in any league in the world. His body's held up in the rough and tumble of the Premier League, barring a few knocks and niggles. He's been pretty much available for every single game, so he can go and play anywhere. I think if we were in the Europa League, I think he would have stayed and honoured his contract. I think if we drop down to that Conference League, I think him and his agent will decide to move on and do something else. I really can't see him sticking around and playing in a third-tier European competition.
He don't deserve
to. Beth, it was Kev said before then on Jose Mourinho's quotes in terms of backing it up, and you don't know what's going on behind the scenes at that football club. I mean, one thing we do know going on behind the scenes is Paul Pogba's well in control of his Instagram account. And obviously he's good at shooting balls into basketball hoops and using bands, doing a little jig or whatever he's doing. Not what United fans want to see, but the only way we can actually prosper from Paul Pogba now is by sending that lack of quality to one of our rivals. I mean, Ornstein has said it's not likely, but Ronaldo to City would... Pogba to City. Jesus Christ, God, don't say that. Pogba to City. Do you know what? I'd actually have a little giggle to myself at the end of a horrible season if that happened, Beth. But, I mean, that'd be one man, a complete different scale to another. You balance Ronaldo and Paul Pogba, and there you see the difference in levels, don't you, in professionalism, in my opinion. I mean, everyone's got their own opinion on Pogba. That's just me. I just don't see why a player would do that, having had the season he's had and where the club is at, and post that out. I think one of them went out as we were getting spanked by Brighton as well.
I don't think Ronaldo would post a video of him scoring in a basketball hoop when he's had a season like that, to be honest with you. And I mean, I'm not one of them people that's like, players can't have a life. Like, they can have lives outside of football and you can post what you want, but it's like, just think about it. Like, think about the context that we're in right now. And it was just, why? It was something I looked at and I thought, it's just ignorant to what's going on.
Read the room. Simple,
read the room. That's the exact quote.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, I just looked at the Premier League table. It'll be interesting to see how we play against Crystal Palace. I mean, I'm expecting us to get beat after the way we played against Brighton, and especially the way Palace have played all season. But West Ham have got Brighton and City. Both games, I feel like they're going to drop points at least out of one of them. I mean, surely City are going to beat them. I think Brighton could definitely beat them, and they're 2-3 points behind us with 2 games in hand. So if we beat Palace, we should get Europa League football. So it'll be interesting to see if the players actually turn up, because surely they don't want to be playing in the Conference League. Like, it is embarrassing. It is laughable. Like, surely you would get pellers from not only just the fans, which they seem to not care about, but also like professional pride, your mates, people they know within the footballing world, going to the England camp, like, yeah, because they seem to be best mates with each other. Imagine being like, yeah, I'm in the Europa Conference League. Like, do they not want good players to come to us in the summer? Do they not want to be playing? I mean, the Europa League isn't even something to be proud of, in my opinion, but the Conference League is so shocking. Like, surely they will want to be in the Europa League at least. So I'm hoping we see something. But from what we've seen all season, it doesn't look likely because they just don't seem to be bothered.
That's it, Kev. It's all on. Beth says there. It's like, will they take that as an incentive to finish in the Europa League? When really, I think the bigger picture is like, who playing on that pitch in that red shirt actually wants to be there, and are they really? Do they give a toss about where this club is playing next season? Because half of the team that we put out week in, week out now aren't going to be here come the summer, and that's the question. We've literally run out of players, and it's like you said before, put the kids on. I mean, yeah, we'll get a better game out of it, and sometimes you go and look at it and you go, would the under-23s have done any worse than this first team? No, I don't think so. Not with the records that we spoke about. But do you have any faith in, like what Bev said there, these players actually taking that as an incentive at all after what you've seen over the last God knows how many months it's gone on for this form?
Absolutely nothing. And like you say, I think there's too many players leaving Manchester United this season that basically don't give a damn. Do not give a damn. They're not doing it for themselves, the club. They're not bothered because the likes of Lingard, Pogba, and that's where we look at the fact of Matic and Mata making, playing such a great, playing well against Brentford. We look at that and they're thrown into the team and you go, these are leaving, but at least they get it and they're giving something back to Manchester United. But I think there's too many players that are leaving that couldn't really care less where Manchester United finish because they're looking ahead to their next career move and going, well, I'm not going to be here, so I'm not really bothered. They're not flying into challenges. They're not kind of doing anything, really, are they? And that for me is the kind of heartbreaking thing to watch as a Manchester United fan. The least you expect, Jesus, is what? To run around the pitch, at least show a bit of effort. And that yesterday was just pathetic. Absolutely pathetic.
I can't see us beating Palace. I can't see it. Yesterday's performance, no, can't see it.
With the Youth Cup coming up on Wednesday as well, and obviously we don't play for 2 weeks. If anyone really shines, which I'm guessing they will because they've done very well all season, I'm all for putting not changing the whole team, but putting a few players in who actually want to play for the shirt. I mean, people say we need to win that game, but we've needed to win all the games this season that we've not won with that team, and it can't be any worse.
The difference is, the difference is, even if let's say we'd have played Charlie Savage, Hannibal, Fernandez, just a few into that team yesterday. People's argument yesterday when I said play these kids, throw them in with a mixture of the big name players or whatever, and let's see what happens. They've got a big, massive game on Wednesday night, but what a great buzz for them. And people are trying to shoot me down going, you throw them in too early. If we get beat, it destroys them. When's the right time to actually throw them in? We're in dire straits at the minute. And I'm like, well, even if we'd have got beat 4-0 yesterday, I guarantee the Manchester United fans that were there would have clapped that whatever you put in that game, if it was Fernandez, Hannibal, Savage, whoever it was, they got a standing ovation from the Manchester United fans, and it would have been purely down to effort and everything that we've been starved of from these players that we've watched this season. You'd have got, fair enough. You've lost 4-0, but look, this is the future. This is the next crop of players. Look at Manchester United, the class of '92, Aston Villa. You look at Alan Hansen, you don't win anything with kids. That come back to bite him. I'm not saying this next crop is anywhere near what that is, but when do you get your opportunity? We're at rock bottom. Why not try it?
You know what the scary thing is as well, Kev? You know what the scary thing is out of all of it? It's like this football club would say, to take the shine off, it's not so much the shine, to take the edge off the actual vibe around United at the moment. Last game of the season, put the kids out there, and it doesn't matter what happens. At least the fans will actually cheer the United players and actually get behind them, just to take the edge off the negativity that's going around. They would throw them kids under the bus like that, I think, this football club.
Oh, yeah.
They really would. 100%. And the reason I don't think some of them are playing is because Ralph has cottoned on to this. He sent Hannibal back to the under-23s. Do you know what I mean? He's actually realising what's going on and what the viruses at this football club, and it's no surprise there's not a lot of them getting a lot of game time when we've all been shouting it out. I don't think Ralph wants to put them in there. That's what I believe. But I mean, it's like I said, I think it's about my 46th game this season when I go to Palace. The only one I'm looking forward to is the FA Youth Cup final on Wednesday. That'll be the best game this season, probably. And sad state of affairs, I'll
tell you something, Adam. If you're right in that assessment of Rangnick is protecting them youth players, and that is one thing that we might not kind of hear of, that's fantastic management. That is brilliant management that not a lot of people will see. From last night, my Twitter feed and that, I don't even know why I jumped on it because it vexes me so much when United get beat. But it's all Rangnick. It's Rangnick's fault. Rangnick's shit. Rangnick's this. Rangnick's that. And I'm like, the guy he's working with his hands tied behind his back, exactly the same as previous managers. You know, it is no different. And it's the reason I said when Ten Hag finally arrives at Manchester United, he has to be given total control. He can't be saying, I want such and such a player, and then Manchester United, like when we talked about Mourinho wanting, Virgil van Dijk, and then Man United going, no, you're going to have to go for the next one on the list. Oh, Victor Lindelof, and you get him. It cannot work like that. You have to back the manager that's in charge. Otherwise, you're working with your hands tied. And how are you supposed to do your job? I think I totally agree. You said yesterday, bringing Matic off, wrong mistake. That is definitely on Rangnick. But you look at other aspects of it, like you say, if he is holding them youth players back because they've got a big game on Wednesday and that's great management from his side, and he's forward thinking there.
I do. That is a good angle on it, but. He is continually undermined, isn't he, by everyone? You know, Cavani's comments about Ronaldo coming out and him then going at the board by saying, naming players. How often do you hear a manager name players? Well, you're about to sign, never mind players that you didn't sign. Like, how embarrassing is that for the board? He's named like world-class players. And we're like, I told the board to sign these players, but we never got around to it. The whole thing is just rotten. He clearly does not have a relationship with the board. He's constantly just throwing players under the bus by being super honest. Martial, Lingard, Cavani's doing it to Ronaldo. The whole thing is rotten. Like, you don't see this in any other club, but United just continually is a circus.
Well,
he's a breaking point.
After the game, he basically said that he didn't follow that they basically ignored his game plan. That's what he basically said.
It did look
and it's like he's called out these players numerous times. It's like when Jesse Lingard, brother, which by the way, if you're going to get your brother to do it, just have the balls to come put it on yourself. I mean, come on, just put it on your own story if that's what you want to get out there. So that happened, and he came out and he said his piece. The players obviously don't like the fact he's honest, and his substitutions and his in-game management have been poor. Like, I can't get my head around the fact that McTominay had one of the worst games I've ever seen against Brighton, and the fact he lasted 90 minutes, can't get my head around it. Can't get my head around Matic came off the pitch. But then it's that bad of a decision. I think to myself, is there something going on behind the scenes where something's had to happen? Because how can you actually watch that game and make them decisions? So it's really confusing.
No, I don't think he's look, I'm not going to sit here and dig him out. And like you said, Kev, like, you go on Twitter and everyone's calling him out or whatever. He's not a manager in the Premier League. He's not.
No.
He's got a great philosophy of football and how he wants it to be played and so on and so forth. But the hustle and bustle of the Premier League, it clearly isn't right for him. And that's okay. He's been brought in to do a job. His hands are tied behind his back and he's blindfolded and he's doing the best. But some of the decisions it's on him. He's got things wrong. And I know he's working with someone else's squad. I know he wasn't backed in January. I know there's clearly a revolt with the players against him. But some of these decisions, like you just said, taking Matic off at halftime, it's madness. Like,
it's refreshing.
Suicide, really.
Did he explain it? Did he explain the decision? Did he come out and say why?
I've not seen
it. Maybe he thought, sack it. I'll just lose another game.
I would say It's refreshing that Rangnick, because we've had 3 years of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, as I always famously say, friends. Everybody was friends. You know, it was all nicey and all that, but we didn't win anything. You know, we've made semi-finals, we made finals, the nearly men. We didn't have the balls to actually win and bring a trophy back home. Whereas Rangnick, I totally agree. He's certainly not the future of Manchester United going forward, but I do think he's gone in there and he's at breaking point now. I think he's exactly like us now as supporters.
Yeah.
I think he's given up. And the things that he's coming out with now in press conferences, post-match, whatever he gives out, after-match analysis, is damning on Manchester United as an actual club. And he is going in on, he's calling out players. You never, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wouldn't have done anything like that. Like I say, it was this friends kind of culture, whereas Rangnick now is like, I'm calling out Jesse Lingard, Anthony Martial, and he's naming people. He's even mentioned the board. He's mentioning literally everything. I think he's at the point where he's like, I'm only here. Do you want me to manage this Crystal Palace game? I'm not really bothered. If you want to sack me and throw me under the bus or do whatever, I'm not bothered.
No, he's there, isn't he?
I'm not here.
He's at that point. It's like he just said then, it's like, I'll just leave these players. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to leave them. Let's see what they do.
But this is why I said
he's going to have to just go in and tell Ten Hag all of this. He's literally just setting them up for a fall. And he has exposed a lot.
This is what I said 2 weeks ago as he checked out. And I didn't mean it in like a negative way from him. But you can understand his position he's in. When he came in, he was giving it beans about, I've been in other clubs and I've told them that the best decision for a manager is to keep me on and whatever. That quickly changed. After 6 weeks, he wasn't even talking about himself anymore.
Realization,
Yeah, you get to January and then you're not back with signings. You're not letting other players go. And I just looked at his body language a couple of weeks ago and I was like, he's given up.
I do also think once it might be one of them situations again where, do you know when like managers leave the clubs and then in the future they do interviews and then they say stuff? It's like when Van Gaal came out later on and threw the board under the bus. Mourinho's done it. Ralph will probably end up just being so honest in a future interview and say even more than what he's doing now, because you can tell that he's not been a good manager, but God, there's so much toxicity.
He's going to write a book, isn't he? He's going to write a book.
The new book.
Yeah.
Hardest challenge of my career.
Yeah.
The ultimate silver line out of all this is that this football club has literally shot itself in the foot with this whole appointment. It was like putting that banner out of failure for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Thank you for not winning anything, Ole, and put a big banner out in the Stretford end. Then hiring Ralph Rangnick and backing themselves into a corner where they've had to appoint Ten Hag because they couldn't get Pochettino from PSG. I still believe they wanted I still believe that they wanted Pochettino. They didn't want Ten Hag coming in. They have literally shot themselves in the foot by not going and getting a manager full time when we should have earlier on. And I was one. I held my hands up saying I thought the interim. I thought Ralph Rangnick was the right decision. It's not worked exactly the right way in terms of on the pitch and where we're finishing in the league, but ultimately it has been the biggest shake-up in this club's history. And the club had no idea what they were doing. And in the end, it's fallen on them now to a point where they're losing buckets of cash on players because of the stupid contracts they've given. Yeah. And they're being forced into bringing in a manager that they didn't want. I truly believe that they did not want Ten Hag. And now, with that contract, which Ralph negotiated himself, because he did turn the first one down, and him going upstairs, he literally is going in to do what Ralph Rangnick does, which is rebuild clubs, not manage football teams. And they've just fallen into a big trap because it just shows there's no IQ in football within the hierarchy at this football club. And now there is people in there which has just come in and just gone, you know what? Short-term loss, long-term gain. This is the only way forward for this football club. And we all said, you know what? Maybe we need to just fall and fall big, because it's the only way that it's going to get any form of rebuilding. We need foundations doing, and we just run out of tracing paper. The cracks are too big, and they can't put the paper there anymore, which we have done for the last 9 years. It's as simple as that. I think now is the silver lining out of all this, the fact that the club have done this to themselves and not even realised that they've done it. And I've just got to laugh at him because hopefully they will come in and tear everything up as a two, Ten Hag and Ralph Rangnick. And you know what? I think every single fan at Manchester United will just stand there applauding them because, yeah, it's been a hard end to the season. But like Kev said there, ultimately, you've got to look at, and yeah, it may still go wrong, but like I said, we've got to try and take a positive out of this somehow. And that's the only one I can see. It's like the club have just left this up themselves. They really have. And the exposure on some of these players, you know what? It's probably been well overdue, probably been years overdue, but only now are we seeing it. So let's see what happens in the summer.
Look at Louis van Gaal's comments, right? Before Ten Hag was appointed Manchester United manager, his fellow countryman is telling Ten Hag not to take the Manchester United job because they are not a football club. They are a commercial club.
Yeah.
You know, and he's telling Ten Hag that. Yeah, we're all like, and we're all praying, going, don't listen to the crazy red wine drinking Dutchman, please.
With the mince pies. Don't do it.
Louis van Gaal's army.
Oh, God. There was a moment yesterday when the seagull flew over the actual stadium, and I looked up, I went, oh, God, we have been shat on. I was just like, oh, God, it's only one more thing can go wrong here. And that's one of them Ashley Young moments where he gets the bird shit.
I've just seen Ahmad score today, right? I've just seen his goal.
Yeah, he scored a great goal.
Yeah. Good.
The future's bright.
He's for one for me. Next summer needs a bit of a chance. I'm not saying he needs to start.
There's a few, isn't there, Beth? There is a few. But that is for another show because we have gone over. Guys, it's been epic. We had loads of topics to get into, but the therapy session took centre stage today. Great numbers in the comment section and in the viewing box. So cheers to watching, everybody. Give the video a like on your way out. Subscribe to the United Stands. We will all be back through the week. I think we are doing something for the youth fan. I'm not too sure yet, but just stay tuned as always. We will keep you posted on everything that's going on.
Yeah, did you see that super chat?
Yeah, I just see it there. That's been the same since we last night. It is. At least we've made everyone laugh at the end, and everyone's got a sense of humour. That's the best bit. That's what it's all about. Jordan, cheers for coming on, mate.
Just want to say, Instagram, get Jay Daly's account back. He's being hacked. I missed the crazy Irishman tagging me in Old is Gold music videos. Get him his account back, guys.
Yes, go for it. It has been a weird one for Jay recently, especially with the messages. Kev, cheers for coming on, mate.
Thanks, as always. Really enjoyed that. I can't believe time flies when you're talking about Manchester United, doesn't it? But obviously, we're not short of things to say at the minute, are we? But no, obviously the live comments were bob on. I couldn't do the moonwalk, jazz hands. There was loads of requests in there, but
I tried stage for Kev.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a private Kev show. That one. That's what it'll be.
Thank you as always. Anyway, nice one.
Yeah, Beth, cheers for coming on as always.
Yeah, thank you everyone, and hopefully, Adam, we actually see some decent football on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to it.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
It's probably going to be the best performance of the season before it's even kicked off.
Is it 8 o'clock the kick-off?
7:30, I think. Is it?
Check, actually.
I think it's 7:30. I got my ticket.
Get the kids back home. Get the kids back home for soon.
Oh yeah, I'll see you there, Kev, as well.
Yeah.
A full gang going this week. That's nice. Yes. Anyway, guys, that is it for now. We will see you through the week. Enjoy. Oh, there's nothing left of the weekend, but it's good that we forget about this one because it's been a shocker for the Reds. But guys, we will see you in the week. Have a good one, everybody. Catch you later.